Focus is still on the Middle East, where at least 30 Palestinians waiting for humanitarian aid in northern Gaza have been allegedly killed by Israeli gunfire. That's according to the Hamas-run Civil Defense Agency. A Gaza civil defense spokesperson has been quoted as saying about 300 people were wounded in the attack. The Israeli Defense Forces says they are not aware of the casualties from their gunfire. The UN Human Rights Office says more than 1,000 Palestinians attempting to access food aid have been killed by the Israeli military since late May. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry also claims that more than 150 persons have died of malnutrition since the start of the Israel-Hamas war in 2023, with 89 being children. The U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, is in Israel, and Israeli media reports say he may visit aid sites in Gaza. To discuss the situation in Gaza, global affairs analyst Conley Fallow joins me from the U.S. state of Indianapolis. Good to have you join us, Mr. Fallow. Well, since the 2nd of March 2025, UNRWA says it's not been allowed to bring in food aid to Gaza. And now there are reports that about 30 Palestinians waiting for humanitarian aid in northern Gaza have been allegedly killed by Israeli gunfire. What's your reaction?
Thanks for having me. This is very disheartening, especially looking at the videos that's been circulating in social media and public space. You would see the deplorable condition of human beings in Gaza. Let's not forget, it's only a handful of people in Gaza. We're looking at only 2 million population altogether. Since the start of the onslaught, or the war from between Hamas and the Israeli military forces, it's over over 56,000 people already allegedly being killed, and now we're facing another disheartening situation where you're finding kids under 5 years old severely malnourished. Not only hunger, we're also seeing that there isn't water to drink. There isn't clean water to drink, and this is so terrible. And I would say that this is not a good sight for anybody, and definitely not a good sight for whatever fight the Israeli team is trying to bring home at this point.
And outside the Middle East, we know that France, the UK, and most recently Canada have threatened to recognize a Palestinian state. Is this a sign that the world is perhaps finally waking up to realities on ground in Gaza?
Most definitely, coupled with the fact that we're just having airdrops after thousands and pleas and literally international outcry and condemnation from different parts of the world, accusing Israel of intentionally starving the people of Gaza. And finally, they succumb to pressure, and now they're just dropping airstrips. They're dropping food, canned food, and flour and sugar, airdropping them to different areas and locations in Gaza. But that isn't enough for the over 2 million people, inhabitants in Gaza. And also, that's not even safe, because that one, the airstrip stuff, coming from the air, it might fall under tents of these individuals and might end up hurting them, or even worse, killing them. So what is the point? Now, there's also international outcry and call for Israeli forces to open the gates of Gaza, because they control all of the entrance points into Gaza, to open it up and let humanitarian organizations have access, unhindered access, so they could deliver the much needed food and all the nutritional needs for not only kids, adults, and the aged ones in the totality of Gaza. And then back to your point, recognizing Palestine as a state, it's way important, and we're seeing that other countries are starting to look at a way of solving the situation once and for all. And unfortunately, the Israeli team might not be comfortable with it, but they have to deal with it.
For these three G7 countries that have come out to say that, they would recognize a Palestinian state, they've set September as a date. That's about a month away. Have you tried to imagine what could go on within 30, 31 days more before perhaps they could make this move? And do you suppose that the Israeli Prime Minister would, for some reason, feel is it threatened now by these calls you're making and perhaps to another path?
Well, one of the parts definitely that will be told now is international negotiations and backdoor politicking and diplomacy, high power diplomacy between multiple countries, not just Israel, not just Gaza. But one thing the entire country and the entire international community agree on is as two states without a mass in there. And that's also one of the sore points. And also, we're also looking at the possibility, or hypothetically, what if we have an election down the line in Gaza and have independent political organizations devoid of input from the Hamas group to, you know, run the affairs of Gaza and Palestinian as a state, and that's all policies and possibilities that we're all looking at. But ideally, anything could go wrong or right before September. So fingers crossed. That is a strong indication that things are changing. The war is changing, and Israel will have to go back and just negotiate and talk more about how they could peacefully evacuate those areas without having to
All right, but
have
that
a head-to-head fight with international communities.
I hear you, but that condition about the Palestinian Authority holding elections next year without Hamas, how feasible is it really? Because Hamas is at the center of this present conflict.
Well, that's another, like I said, so it's a sore issue. It's a sore point. Is it possible? It is very possible that that will happen. There might possibly, honestly, they might be in the back burner and not very visible in the public space. But for the sake of the people of Palestine, for the sake of the people, inhabitants of Gaza, it is very essential that Hamas toe the line of peace. And because the bloodshed is unnecessary, people are dying. Aside from the fact that they feel that they're fighting for a just cause. And if really they are fighting for the people of Palestine to have an independent state. So this is a clarion call for them to step back and allow an independent political team from the people of Gaza themselves to run the affairs of Gaza and
And
Palestine.
okay, and despite his condemnation of killings in Gaza, Donald Trump has described Canada's move to recognize a Palestine state as a threat to the U.S.-Canada trade deal. What does this say about the U.S. president, who has over time stood as a middleman to solve this conflict?
We all know that the President Trump administration blows hot and cold in 2 seconds. So we might hear something today and wait for another 24 hours. There might be a change of tone altogether from the administration. So I would say fingers crossed. All of this is still politicking. And until when, all of this is finalized, then we'll begin to see real changes. But as far as the Trump administration, you never can tell what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. So I would say not to lose your breath and just wait for the final resolution, because there's going to be a lot of back and forth until we finally find something feasible, maybe by
Global.
September.
All right, then. Global Affairs Analyst Kunle Falowo, thank you very much for your time on World Now.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.